I never thought a simple night out could turn into the kind of chaos that rewrites your life. But that Friday, the kind of Friday you usually forget in a blur of work and routine, I found myself at the center of a storm I hadn't seen coming. One wild night, I muttered under my breath, gripping my purse tighter, trying to steady my nerves. I didn't know it then, but by the end of the night, I would be lying in an ER bed, bewildered, bruised, and questioning everything I thought I knew about safety, trust, and the people around me. My name is Claire, and I've always considered myself careful. A 32-year-old accountant, married to Josh for 5 years, careful, organized, and sensible. My life had been predictable: office, home, the occasional dinner with friends, and quiet weekends with Josh. But that night, seeking a little escape from the monotony, I decided to go out with 2 strangers I had met at a local art exhibit. Michael and Lena were both charming, effortlessly engaging, and carried a reckless energy that immediately pulled me into their orbit. The evening started innocuously enough. Drinks, laughter, and conversations about art, travel, and experiences we all claim to crave. But the excitement in their eyes hinted at a hunger for chaos, a desire to push boundaries. I laughed nervously, reminding myself I was just out for a few hours of fun. And yet, when Michael suggested a spontaneous trip to a late-night music festival, Lena encouraged it, and the thrill in the air was contagious. I hesitated, but the thought of a night that broke the monotony was irresistible. We drove through the city streets, lights blurring past as the car hummed beneath us. I remember glancing at my phone, expecting a reassuring text from Josh, something mundane but grounding, a reminder that life at home was still stable. Nothing. And for the first time that night, a pang of unease crept in. But the excitement, the adrenaline, was a stronger force. I convinced myself it was harmless fun, just one wild night, I told myself, nothing more. But that's when things shifted. A sudden swerve, a sharp collision, the screech of brakes against asphalt, and in an instant, the carefree night turned into chaos. Pain flared through my side, the world tilted, and then darkness edged my vision. Michael and Lena were shouting, their carefree personas evaporating into panic. I tried to sit up, tried to speak, but my body refused to obey. And somewhere in the haze, a new thought gripped me: Josh. My husband. Would he know? Would he understand how badly everything had spiraled? When I finally opened my eyes, the sterile white lights of the ER stabbed at me. The sound of beeping machines and distant footsteps created a rhythm I couldn't escape. My side throbbed, a deep, persistent ache that made every breath a reminder of the accident. Panic surged as I tried to recall what had happened. Michael, Lena, the screeching brakes, the sudden collision. And then it hit me: Josh. My husband. Would he know? Would he come? Would he even understand the chaos I had willingly, or foolishly, walked into? I tried to sit up, ignoring the nurse who gently pressed me back onto the bed. "Don't move, Claire," she said, her tone firm but kind. "You've sustained some bruising and a minor fracture. We need to make sure nothing else is injured." Her words, clinical and detached, failed to calm the storm in my mind. I needed Josh. I needed the one person who could make sense of the absurd, frightening mess my night had become. Minutes stretched into eternity before he arrived, and when he did, I didn't recognize the man standing in the doorway. His face, pale and strained, carried a mix of fear, anger, and something I couldn't immediately place. "Claire," he said, voice trembling. "What the hell happened?" I opened my mouth to explain, but the words caught, twisted in my throat. The story was too wild, too unbelievable, and even I struggled to piece together the timeline. "It was a car accident," I finally managed, voice shaky. "Michael, Lena, we were." Josh's eyes darkened, the storm inside him building. He didn't yell. He didn't even speak immediately. He just stared, processing, his jaw tightening. Then, with a quiet, dangerous calm, he asked, "Why are you out with strangers? Why didn't you tell me?" The accusation stung sharper than the pain in my ribs. I tried to explain, tried to convey the harmless intent, the innocent desire for a night out. But he wasn't hearing me. He wasn't listening. As he paced the small space, hands running through his hair, I realized something chilling. The trust we had built, fragile as it was, had been tested far beyond anything I could have imagined. His silence was more punishing than words. Every question, Every glance, every measured pause was a mirror reflecting my own reckless decisions. And in that reflection, I understood. One wild night had not just landed me in the ER, it had shaken the foundation of our marriage, leaving us both exposed, vulnerable, and unsure of what came next. I wanted to reach out, to hold his hand, to plead, but the tension in the room was palpable. He was there, yes, physically, but emotionally. He had already left me to face the consequences of choices that had seemed so innocent only hours ago. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying. The accident was just the beginning. The real chaos was just beginning, and it would take everything we had to survive it. Hours passed, each tick of the clock amplifying the tension between us. Josh didn't speak much, but the silence was heavier than any argument we'd ever had. The doctors came and went, checking vitals, adjusting my bandages, and monitoring my fracture. I tried to focus on the medical details, hoping they would distract me from the unspoken storm brewing between us. But every time I looked at Josh, I saw the same mixture of fear and frustration mirrored back. Finally, as the room quieted, he leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his gaze fixed on me. "Claire," he said, voice low, deliberate. "I need you to be honest. From the start. What really happened tonight?" His words were calm, but the weight behind them made my heart pound. I took a deep breath, recounting every detail. The art exhibit, meeting Michael and Lena, the drinks, the spontaneous trip, the car accident. I expected anger, perhaps even shouting, but instead, I saw something else. Understanding slowly weaving its way through the shock. He exhaled slowly, finally speaking. "You made a series of choices that could have ended much worse. I can't control everything, but I need to know we can trust each other. That's what keeps us safe, more than rules, more than routines. Trust." His voice softened, though the tension hadn't fully left his posture. "Tonight, you broke more than your ribs, Claire. You broke the comfort I thought we shared. But we can fix it, if we're both willing to face the truth." I nodded, tears streaming down my face, a mixture of relief and lingering fear. "I know," I whispered. "I didn't mean for any of this. I just wanted to escape, even for a few hours. I didn't think it would go this far." Josh shook his head, a small, almost imperceptible smile forming. "I get it. But no more wild nights with strangers. Ever. And maybe next time let me be part of the adventure. Or at least know it exists." I laughed softly, the tension easing just a little. It was a fragile peace, built on honesty, accountability, and the realization that our bond wasn't unbreakable, but it was resilient, if nurtured carefully. As the nurse wheeled me to a recovery room, Josh stayed close, hand lightly brushing mine. In the chaos of the night, in the whirlwind of panic and fear, we found a thread of clarity. The night had tested us, pushed us to the edge, and left us raw, exposed, and human. But we had survived it together. And sometimes that's all that really matters. By the time we left the hospital, the night sky was pale with early dawn, and for the first time since the accident, I felt a sense of calm. The wild night was over, but the lessons, the shock, and the renewed understanding between us would linger far longer. Etched into memory, resilience, and the fragile, unspoken strength of our marriage.